Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial video. This is number 2 of the command block series for Bedrock Edition. If you guys haven't watched episode 1, I recommend going to that and watching it because I will be using a few things that you learned last time in today's tutorial. So let's get into it. Now, first things first, we're going to need to give ourselves a command block. We type /give @s command underscore block. Now, if you don't know how to do that yet, I taught that last episode, and I'll actually be explaining a lot of the components of that in today's video, so let's get into it. First, I'm going to show you how to get rid of the command output and the feedback of your commands in chat. So if you look at this, it says you have been given command block ×1, gave command block ×1 to Dino Boss 123. Now, the way you can disable these messages is a /gamerule command. It's one word, /gamerule, and then you go ahead and type command block output and then space false. So command block output is one word, and then you have to have a space false. As you can see, you can just type that out on your own. And then we press enter. Oh, sorry. Get rid of that slash. And then we press enter. Bam. And then the second command that we need to type to get rid of the feedback is send command feedback. And then we're going to do false. And it's still in the game rule command. But basically, we're going to set the send command feedback game rule to false, and then we go ahead and click enter, and bam. So now if we go ahead and go back and give ourselves another command block, it doesn't show up all that nasty text in the chat anymore. Now it's time to start the tutorial itself and learning the command components. Now, we're actually going to be working within the chat today, a lot more than within the command block, because I want to teach you a lot more components of commands, not the command block interface, but commands themselves. So let's get into it. So the first component I'm going to teach you is the selector component, and if you remember from my last tutorial, I actually said this once. So I'm going to do /give. I was going to do /game mode, but we're going to do /give because the selector's right there. Now, it does say target, but I'm going to be explaining selectors first. Now, selectors are those little @ symbols. Now, if I go ahead and actually place a command block for you guys, and then we open it, this is a list of selectors, and that's where you remember it from because I actually told you about these. Now, what selectors do, they actually shorten a group of entities. So let's say I wanted to kill @everything. So I wanted to do /kill @e. What that would do is @e, as you can see, this little gray text right here, it says @e, and then it says the little slash the little line, and then it says all entities. Now, what this means is it will kill all entities in the game. So if I have an armor stand, and then I also have a pig. Let me grab a pig. I don't know why it has to be a pig, but it's going to be a pig. And then we have a little pig, and we do the /kill @e. It will kill both of them. Now, this is the cool thing. Items count as entities. As you can see, they have a little shadow. Now, signs have a little shadow, but those don't count as entities. But items do. So if we do /kill @e again, the items will disappear because they are an entity. So basically, selectors are just classifying a group of entities. So the first entity is @s, which is equal to self. Now, this is what you would do if you wanted to do /give @s. What that means is giving yourself something. The second one the second selector, is the nearest player, which is at P. And what that means is /give at P. It will give the closest player an item. Now, since I'm typing this and it's going to execute where I am, I'm going to be the closest player always. Like, no matter what, I will be the closest player. So that's another way of giving yourself a command block if you want to do at P instead. The next selector is at R. This is a random player. I don't have other players on my world, but if you did, and you did /give at R, it would give a random player in your game, any random player, a whatever item you classified. The next selector is at A, which is all players. And what all players means is /give at A, it would give all the players in the game an item. And then the last command is at E, which I just showed you, which is everything, anything in the game, all the entities in the game. So this can be a player, this can be an item, this can be an armor stand, this can be a whole bunch of crap. And that's what at E is. It's any entity in the game. Falling blocks counts as an entity, but yeah, that's what at E means, basically. And the reason why I didn't die when I did the /kill at E command is because I'm on creative. So if I actually go game mode S, if you want to copy that command, that just puts you in game mode survival. And now I'm in survival, and I do /kill at E, bam, I die. Because I am an entity, and players are entities. So I know I've been going really fast, and I can tell that maybe a few of you are actually lost currently. So I'm actually going to be explaining what I'm explaining now. So I'm actually explaining the command components. Now, if you do /give in chat, there are components to the command. Now, if you look here above where you're typing, it says /give, what you just typed, and then it shows these triangle brackets, player : target. That's a component. Anything in triangle brackets and or square brackets are components. Now, what these triangle brackets and the square brackets mean, and what's the difference between them, if you see a component that has triangle brackets, that is a need. You need it, or it won't work. Like, the command won't function without that component. And if you see a component that has square brackets, that is optional. That means you don't need it for the command to work, but you can choose it if you want to. So if I go ahead and do /give, you can see that it says player : target in triangle brackets, and that means it needs a target. And now that we know selectors, we can use a selector as a target, so we're going to do at S. And then we also have item name, which is also in triangle brackets. That means that we need it, so let's pick an item. I'm going to give myself a diamond _ sword. Then, as you notice, this says amount, but it's in square brackets. So that means we don't need it. It's optional. So if we don't want the amount, we can just press enter, and bam, now we have a diamond sword. And we didn't need to type in the amount. But if we wanted to, we could type in 2. And now we have 2 diamond swords. And that's where the optional and needs come in. And those are 2 different types of components. So these things right here in chat, right there, /give, and then player : target and triangle brackets, is a component. That whole thing is a component right there. And then this is another component. And then this is another component. And this is another component. And that's the final component. So those are the components of commands, and that's what I'm teaching you right now. For anyone who was lost, because I felt like I was talking very fast, so I took it back a notch. Now let's explain a few more of these components. Now that you understand the selector component, let's explain the integer component. So if we do /give @s command underscore block, I actually just did the amount for you. Now, you might piece the puzzle together, but an integer, or an int, is a number. And to tell what it wants, as you can see, it says amount : int. Now, you know what an int is, which is a number, so I'm assuming it wants the number of items you want to give yourself. So I want to give myself 1. And now there's data, and that's also an int. I'll explain data later, so we're not going to do that one yet, because that gets a little confusing. So that's what an integer is, and if you want to write that down, it will help you, because a lot of components use these integers, and int stands for integer. Now, this is where it gets fun, because now you know integers and selectors, so you can basically do the /effect command. But there's one thing at the end called boolean. Now, a boolean value is true or false. That's all it is. It's just true or false. Now, if we go ahead and look through this command, /effect, it says player : target. So we need a target. So I'm going to do @s because I know my selectors. And then it says effect : effect. Now, if it says something like this, what that means is it's custom value. So right here we have a list of effects. Let's give myself speed, the most common one. Then, right here, it's in square brackets, but I still want to do it because I want to tell you about the boolean. So seconds, integer. Well, I know what an integer is. It's a number, so I want it for 5 seconds. Then the amplifier. Now the amplifier is how strong the effect is. If you've ever played Minecraft and you've made a potion, you can get like a speed 2 potion and a speed 1 potion. That's what the amplifier is. And the amplifier only goes up to 255. I'm not going to give myself that much speed because it's absurd, but I will do an amplifier of 2, which is very fast, and it's still really fast. Anyway, hide particles : boolean. Now, we know what a boolean is. I just told you what a boolean is. It's true or false. And actually, right here, it says false or true. So it only can be 2 things. Now, what this does is it hides the particles or not. It's asking you, do you want to hide the particles? And I do. So what we're going to do is say yes, but in coding terms, it would be true. So if we go ahead and execute that, now we have speed, and there's no little particle effects around us. Now, this is getting fun, because we're on our last component that I'm going to teach you in today's tutorial. I'm only going to teach you 2 parts of this component, but there are 3 parts. And what this component is, if we go ahead and do set block, is position. I'm going to teach you positioning, and I'm only going to teach you 2 of the positionings. The first one is going to be exact, which is 3 integers. And then I'm also going to teach you relative, which is 3 squigglies, or hyphens. Hello, it's me, 2 days after recording this video. I said hyphens, and it annoys me a lot. It's actually a tilde, not a hyphen. I was tired, okay? Don't judge me. Don't type that in the comments, okay? Back into the video. Now, exact is wherever the position is on the world. The world has a giant graph, and if you want to imagine it that way, anywhere in this world has a position. So if I stand on top of this command block, it has a position of 0, 5, 5, and you can see that in the top left. Now, that means exact is just 3 integers, right? And you'd be correct. Then what is relative? Well, when you execute a command, it is executing wherever you are, and it's executing relative to where you are. So if I execute a command inside this command block, it's executing relative to this command block. Not me, but to the command block. Now if I do /set block inside the chat, it is going to execute relative to me. So if I did 3 squiggles, that would set the block where I am standing, because it is setting it relative to where I am. Now, let's say I wanted to set the block above this command block. Now it's 055, so I do set block 055. But that seems time consuming, and if I wanted to move this command block or copy it and move it over, I'd have to retype the coordinates over and over again. So, is there an easier way? Well, yes, we can do it relative to the command block. But the relative command, or the relative positioning, runs wherever the command block is. So how do we change it? Well, these squiggles are basically X, Y, and Z. So if we type a number after the squiggle, it actually adds or subtracts to the X, Y, or Z coordinates. So if I go ahead and do the Y coordinate, and I wanted it to be up 1, I'd just add 1, right? So if I go X and then Y, and right here is Y, so I'd add 1 after it. And what this means is set block, and then X, nothing, but that means it's relative. So X relative, and then Y relative plus 1, and then Z relative. So what that would do is set the block above it. Now if we go ahead and retype the set block command in the chat, so /set block, we know our position, so I want relative, and now I want style name, which is a block, so let's do dirt. And then the rest is optional, and I don't want it, so I'm good. So I just want to set the block where I'm standing to dirt, and then if I click enter, ta-da! Now it's dirt. That is what position, integer, and selectors are all about. I am going to teach you a lot more in the next tutorial, and I hope this was easy to understand. So if we actually go ahead and do /set block, stone above this command block, and then we go ahead and grab a redstone block and activate it, bam, there's stone above it. And remember, our command block components right here, we can actually set this to always active. And now we can break it forever. If that's cool and fascinating to you, if you want to do that at all. So those are command components, and now you can actually do a lot of the commands. If you go ahead and do / and then any of these commands and like clear, all it needs a target, so @s. And it needs an item, so let's do command _ block and enter, because apparently it doesn't all need it, and ta-da, now I don't have command blocks anymore. There we go. So now you understand the components of commands. I didn't teach you all of them, and there's still a few more to teach, but now you know the basic ones and are able to run basic commands. That's all for today's tutorial, and I hope you guys learned something new. I know it might have been a little confusing for you. You guys can always re-watch the video, but now you guys understand a few of the command components and what command components are. I'll be teaching you the rest of the command components in the next episode, hopefully, and maybe even teach you a few of the arguments. I hope you guys have fun and check out the rest of these tutorials in order to learn command blocks on Bedrock Edition. Have a great day.